come, we go burn down Babylon one more time.
Chant Down Babylon is the 14th episode in the 3rd season of Roswell, and it's quite simply one of the best episodes from any TV show I've ever seen. Roswell was a very unsuccessful and largely unknown American TV show that aired from 1999 to 2002. If you want more context on this show and what it's all about, then watch my previous video from last year's Octoween, where I explain why I am so drawn to this series. At the end of that video I said that I might try to return to this topic one day to review my favourite episode from the series, and here we are now. For the second and most likely final time, I'm talking about the one TV show that had the biggest influence on me creatively. And yes, how could I forget? This is Octoween VII.
Beware, you're in for a scare.
Sorry for that long ass intro taking away from the atmosphere I thought I was starting to build up for this video. I can take Octoween out of the title and the thumbnail of the video, but I simply cannot remove the intro I've been playing since my first year of doing YouTube. This is the only annual tradition on my channel that's been going since the channel first started, so you know it's gotta stay pure. So anyone seeing this video has most likely never seen Roswell, which means that I'll try and take you through this episode as if I were reviewing just a standalone movie. I mean, this episode sits alongside some of the best movies I've ever seen anyway. Before I start on the actual episode Chant Down Babylon, I have to explain the cliffhanger that the previous episode titled Panacea left us on. This episode leads us into the chaotic events of the main event, which is Chant Down Babylon. Also, as you probably may have guessed, this is the crescendo to the entire series, so spoilers obviously. If you're looking to see this show, then don't watch this video yet, but I know that most of you will probably still watch this anyway though.
Let's go already!
Okay, sorry Bender. The most important moments in the series Roswell begin in the episode Panacea. Everything bad begins to occur when Michael's security guard workmate, Monk, is brutally murdered while they are both doing the graveyard shift one night at the pharmaceutical company they work at as security guards. Michael becomes understandably frustrated and confused by these events, so he decides to enlist the help of his friend and former Roswell town sheriff, Jim Valenti. Valenti comes up with the clever idea of applying for the now vacant job position at the security company Michael works at. Of course, he, shock horror, easily gets the job.
Guess the interview went well. Piece of cake. Drop my name.
I didn't really have to, Michael. She seemed pretty impressed with my resume. You know, being a sheriff and all.
They both soon realize that the person who allegedly broke into the pharmaceutical company that night didn't actually break in at all, as it becomes clear very quickly that it was all staged, meaning that Monk's murder was probably not caused by a random thug and thus somebody working inside the walls of the company. Michael and Valenti continue to uncover clues during their investigation to find the murderer. Little do they know, everything they are doing is being watched by the woman who interviewed Michael after the death of his workmate. She is the wife of the very wealthy pharmaceutical company owner, which is the same company Michael and Monk were initially doing a security guard job for. The plot continues to thicken as Michael finds a tube containing his own blood, which is completely different cells to human blood, as Michael is of course a human-alien hybrid. They then get confirmation that what's going on is bigger than they could have ever imagined, as they discover a bunch of evidence which is also essentially callbacks from the entire series. All of the evidence easily proves that Max, Michael and Isabel are in no way human. Of course they are caught by lab workers.
I haven't had a horseradish either. Hey,
Look at this here. How you fellas doing this evening?
Michael hides, and Valenti pretends to be surveying the lab security as part of his job in a very clever way, and he makes a diversion for Michael to escape in just the nick of time. This all happens just before the wife of the rich Medicam owner, who has been watching their every move, finds Valenti in the lab, essentially trapping him. Michael just misses seeing what happened to Valenti. As he arrives home, he attempts to contact Valenti, but to no avail. Michael, Max, and Isabel then explain the potential repercussions of the pharmaceutical company Medicam knowing all these things about them. Jim Valenti's son Kyle turns up worrying about his dad's whereabouts before Isabel tells him that his father is in trouble. They all then hatch a plan to rescue their good friend and ally Valenti from the dangerous company where the suspicious murder took place just days earlier. They all enter the building and search for Valenti while Michael mans the security cameras to check if his friends are safe. Eventually, Max finds Valenti trapped and tied up in a dark room. The shit hitteth the fanneth while Max and Valenti are trying to escape as Valenti gets shot. Max uses his alien powers to throw the shooters at the wall.
Can you move? I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. Lenny, look at me. Look at me.
He again uses his amazing powers to remove the bullet and the entry wound from Valenti, thus saving his life. This is seen by the always watching wife, who goes on to say,
So you're the healer. You have no idea how long we've been looking for you.
Of course, they are then taken away by the woman and the men with guns. Meanwhile, Michael and Isabel are looking for them all through the building, using their alien powers to unlock every single door. The woman takes Max and Valenti into a lab and then tells Max Evans to heal her dying and extremely elderly, wealthy husband. Valenti then comes up with two banger one-liners.
Clayton Wheeler, he owns all of this.
So you're what? A few days away from inheriting his millions?
I don't care about that.
Right. You just happen to fall in love with a man twice your age who just happens to be a multimillionaire.
Quiet!
She then explains how she and her husband found out Max's powers to save people, starting with Liz being shot and then miraculously healed by Max from the very first scene of the very first episode.
You're all right now. You're all right.
The plot continues to thicken as expected when we find out that she got her people to kill Monk. This was of course all to see if Michael was the alien with the miraculous healing powers. She tells Max to heal again, this time her dying elderly husband. Max tells her it doesn't work like that because he can't save someone from a natural death. Of course, she says he'll die if he doesn't attempt to heal him. The plot hole here is that Max could have dragged this out for as long as he wanted, because why would she tell her men with guns to kill the only thing that could keep her husband alive? Max could have waited until the husband died and then in the meantime hatched a plan to wreck the men with guns and escape. But this is the thrilling moment in the entire series, so no. Or maybe because he just healed Valenti, he felt like he was gone if he didn't do something fast. Yeah, that's fair enough. Max instantly attempts to use his healing powers in a way that's incredibly dangerous for him. During his attempt to heal the old man, he begins to age a lifetime in mere seconds. Valenti tries to tell Max to stop but gets struck. It is Max Evans who then becomes the old man himself after successfully healing the elderly pharmaceutical company owner. After that supernatural-like horror movie sequence, Valenti begins to crawl to him between the flames, but just before he can come to his aid, he watches as Max decays to literal dust. Max's girlfriend Liz wakes up at the moment Max dies and instantly knows that he died due to Max transferring part of his alien powers over to her by accident earlier in the series. The credits roll and the episode ends. This was the episode Panacea. I haven't even started reviewing the real best TV show episode I've ever seen yet. That was of course just to give context. Holy shit. Okay, so obviously this shit is super hard to explain to people who have never seen the show, but I realize that is literally everyone, as this show is so unknown. I also realize I'm covering all of these events from the show with a fine-tooth comb and not explaining why it's such a brilliant show and why these sequences in the series are so well done. I would have done that instead of a play-by-play review of the show with every event being told by me if it was a way more well-known show. But it isn't. It would have just explained itself, of course. But obviously, there isn't a way to do that. It just can't be done. Trust me, if I didn't have to explain Panacea, I would have just started straight on this.
Let's go!
So thanks for understanding, guys. With that out of the way, let's get straight into the main event, Chant Down Babylon. Of course, the events of Panacea cliffhang straight into this episode. Chant Down Babylon begins right where Panacea left off, with Michael and Isabel still looking around the building trying to find Max and Valenti. They finally find the room they were being held captive in and burst down the door to it. Valenti comes running out of the burning building screaming. He then tells Isabel,
Where's Max? Jim, where's my brother?
Dead.
Michael stands there in utter shock, staring into the flames. After they all exit the burning building, Valenti explains what happened to Max before Michael and Isabel used their alien powers to kill the gold digger's wife's hired help. The people who, as far as they know, could have been responsible for Max's death. Isabel is shot down by one of them just before they kill these men, and out of nowhere, her husband comes running to aid her. Michael and Isabel's husband Jesse fight over Jesse wanting to take her to the hospital, as Michael tries to tell him that she's an alien. Of course, aliens can't go to the hospital because everyone will find out they're an alien and the FBI will come running right there. He then finds out for the very first time that his own wife is indeed not human.
Hey, you can't take her to the hospital, you can't!
Why? Tell me why!
Because your wife isn't human!
It's true, Jesse. She's not human.
This is very confronting stuff for Jesse, as you could probably tell. After the intro to the show, Michael's girlfriend attempts to contact him while they are racing home to Valenti's house. With the husband's help, they somehow organize the assistance of a disgraced MD he knows. When they get back to Valenti's, the doctor arrives to the rescue and immediately helps out in a huge way. We cut back to the rich old man and his wife as the covers come back to reveal Max Evans? It turns out that it's still the old man with just the appearance and youth of Max Evans transferred over to him, in probably the lowest moment in the series in terms of general viewer sadness for what happened. We cut back to the boarding school as Maria rushes to her best friend Liz and confirms the news that her boyfriend Max has passed away.
I'm so sorry.
I knew it.
We then go back to the old man and his gold digger as something really strange happens.
Something's wrong.
As you can see, the old man starts getting visions of Max's past. He then realizes that he's not all him and that Max Evans is part of his very being.
He's in there. He's inside my head.
Who?
Max Evans.
Back at Valenti's house, the doctor explains the condition of Isabel Evans as they are all recovering from the craziest night of their lives. Carl then comes up with the best line of the entire episode.
You mind if I smoked?
No, go ahead.
Can't imagine why you lost your license.
This killed me on the first viewing. It's just hilarious and completely out of nowhere. The roommate of Liz at her boarding school realizes something is up with her and gets a big shock.
What's going on with Liz? Did something happen with her ex?
Yeah, he's dead.
That's awkward. And Liz reaches for the liquor cabinet. In her struggle to open it, her alien powers she got from Max somehow work with her anger and burst open the locked liquor cabinet. Back at Valenti's, Isabel's husband Jesse keeps on getting Michael to manipulate the molecular structure of a rosebush, as this is one of their abilities, and continues to disbelieve what he is hearing and seeing. I mean, can you blame him?
How many times do I have to do this?
I don't know.
You know, you tell me this crazy story about another planet, and every time I come close to believing it, I start worrying that I'm strapped down in a room somewhere because I've lost my mind. Okay, so just keep doing it until I can accept that I'm seeing it and that I am really here.
I just love how this, the most dramatic episode of the entire series, can get this sort of humor going. Just brilliant writing. Maybe everyone isn't absolutely cacking themselves at Jesse thinking he's insane in a mental asylum, but I bloody love it. The doctor then says this.
Isabel has a temperature of 112.
112?
And rising.
How high can it get before it gets dangerous?
Dangerous? Let me tell you something. 107 is considered fatal in most cases. I'd never even heard of a temperature of 108.
I remember thinking when I first saw this scene that this was probably one of the coolest lines in the entire series.
Now, obviously, I'm not supposed to ask any questions, but if there's something about Isabel that I should know, you might want to consider telling me.
There's nothing we could tell you that would be of any use.
Okay.
Then, in a really sweet moment, Carl talks to a possibly dying Isabel Evans about how he might possibly have some alien healing powers after Max transferred his energy over to him when he was accidentally shot earlier in the series. He believes this because the alien powers Liz got were believed to be from the healing of her bullet wound in the very first episode from Max. Carl gives it a try while the husband watches on in a sad but sweet moment. By the way, in the show he has a massive crush on Isabel at this point, which is while she is married. I say it's sweet because Carl is an all-around good guy in the show, as is Nick Wexler in real life. And back to the boarding school, and Liz is drunk. Actually, the only time in the series her character is drunk. Other characters get drunk at various points, which is very funny to watch. She explains while under the influence that her powers are back. She stays on the hard liquor while having a drunken rant at her friend Maria, understandably so. And then she goes outside to get some air. When outside, she slips over and sees... Yep, Max Evans. She thinks she's seeing things and then she realizes she is not. I love the editing during the sequences when Liz realizes it is actually Max and not just the shapeshifter posing as him.
Oh my God, Max.
Also, the gold digger's reaction to her husband and Liz kissing is pretty funny. Of course, it's not Max. It's just the old man with Max's appearance. However, it becomes very clear that the part of Max that's still inside the old rich piece of shit is still wrestling control with the old guy using Max's appearance.
Come back!
Back to Valenti's house, and it's Michael's turn to have an emotional chat to Isabel. He tells a story of a teacher bullying him when he was young.
First day of school, 3rd grade. I'm standing by the lunch line arguing with that ass Mr. Trevors. He tells me that the cafeteria won't take my food stamps. I say they're for food, aren't they? And he looks down on me, and he says with that scraggly mustache and that stupid comb over. He says, I don't take lip from welfare punks. I'm about to kick his balls up into his throat. But then I feel someone watching me. It feels like a heat lamp turned on the back of my neck, and I turn around, and there you are. And you're sitting at a table all by yourself. And you're just staring right at me. So I walk over and I sit down. You're still staring at me with those big eyes. And you pushed your tray of food over to me, and you say, you can have my lunch. Right then I knew you were different. But you were different like I was different. Only people liked you and they wanted you around. I want you around. I want you around. So please don't go.
I think people underestimate how tough these sorts of scenes are to firstly materialize out of absolutely nothing and then write in such a fantastic way. The brilliant story here is topped off by the brilliant acting of Brandon Furr, who plays Michael. Such an underrated actor. While he's holding her emotionally, he then somehow heals her back to consciousness, thus unlocking another part of his alien powers that up to this point only Max Evans had. Isabel then says,
You still owe me for that lunch.
The doctor confirms Isabel is okay.
Vitals are steady. Temperature's down to 102. God, I need a cigarette.
so fucking funny. I can still remember the mixture of nervousness for the character of Isabel and my laughter when I first saw this close to Halloween 2 years ago. The doctor's saying,
Temperature's down to 102.
I need a cigarette. It's so funny. So then an awkward moment between her and Jesse ensues as she realizes he knows everything, obviously. Back to the boarding school library? Huh? That's completely empty because it's spring break for the boarding school students, if anyone was wondering. Not an obvious plot hole, don't worry. The old man Clayton Wheeler turns out to be still struggling with Max being inside his body as he continues to fight over himself and Max Evans. Clayton himself then kills his wife. And then he begins his search for Liz. And so one of the strangest and most bizarre struggles between Max and him inside his own body continues. We find out back at the house why the doctor is unlicensed, unwanted, and unloved.
All because I wrote some prescriptions for a few friends.
They weren't your friends, Paul.
He then gives Jesse some words of advice.
You're involved in something here. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know. But it's wrapped up in lies within lies, and that's not what you're about. You're one of the good guys, Jesse.
So are my friends.
You can't trust them. Not when it counts. Not when it comes time to chant down Babylon and destroy the plans of wicked men.
And that's one of the many reasons why this episode is called Chant Down Babylon. So many entendres and meanings in this episode as to why it's called that. You'll see in just a bit. Sit tight.
Good luck, Jesse.
Thanks.
At the boarding school again, Maria aids a hungover Liz who is sorry.
I'm sorry, Maria.
I'm sorry, Maria.
Okay, you're forgiven.
Do I want to know what I did that I'm sorry for?
Let it go. I have.
Back to Clayton / Max / who knows who this is anymore. I mean, really, maybe that's the beauty of it, I guess? How does the viewer know who the hell this is at any moment? Leaves it open to interpretation. I like that in media. He's roaming around the boarding school grounds like a creepy, identity-confused fella. Liz all of a sudden then remembers what happened before and is convinced she saw Max in the courtyard. She's told by Maria that she was probably just hallucinating from heaps of alcohol and no water. She goes to have a shower and calm down, but Clayton then appears in the dorm room and starts choking Maria. Liz walks in on this and realizes very quickly that this isn't actually Max. And while this is happening, Chant Down Babylon by Bob Marley is playing, courtesy of Maria putting the CD in the player. It's the title, there you go. Liz runs away and Clayton begins to chase her. We then get an awesome running hallway shot straight out of a really decent slasher horror movie. This would for sure be the best camera work of the entire series, easily. Another best of the series, I know. It's just the best ep, it really is. Clayton chases Liz all the way to the attic and starts strangling her. Liz uses her powers that Max gave her to throw him back. Max then tries to contact Liz through Clayton's body while fighting with his beam.
Liz?
Max?
I'm in this body, but it's not really me.
Hey, let me help you.
You have to kill this body.
No.
You have to. I'll kill you if you don't. Please. Take the club. Do it.
Max.
Do it!
She obviously is super hesitant to do that on the grounds that she'd end up killing what's left of Max. She goes to strike him but misses, which leads to Clayton going back to trying to kill Liz with strangulation. She finds a metal pole nearby just in the nick of time though and clubs him with it as they both plan their next move. They grab onto one another and fall through the window, shattering the glass. Now here, we see easily hands down the best moment in the entire series, as time slows right down for both of them. Liz gets her life and the people she loved in it flashing right before her eyes. The part of Max that's still in Clayton's body then sees all the memories of Liz and realizes what could happen. He then uses the protective shield power he learnt in the second season to save her from certain death. The camera cuts to them on the floor with the shattered gazebo around them as Liz tries to kiss Max back to life. I know everyone who hates these cliches would detest this, but because I'm a lover of the cliche when it's used correctly, this part is great to me. I know I can't find a flaw in the show. This episode is the best for a reason. It makes sense too because Liz inherited Max's powers after all. Max then morphs back into a mix of him and Clayton, and then back to himself to become Max again.
promise. You brought me back.
I guess that makes us even.
It turns out, as you can see and probably figure out by now, that Max actually transferred his life force over to Clayton's body without even meaning to in the previous episode, Panacea. While attempting to heal him, instead of healing him, he just transferred his being over to another body. The body he switched himself over was essentially doomed from the very beginning. That doomed body, of course, being Clayton's. Because he was meant to die from a natural death very soon, Max instead took over his body. You doubt you'd ever try this again though, as it took a 5-story building fall and a kiss from someone with his powers to make him himself again. Liz and Max are finally properly reunited. We end the greatest episode of Roswell on the traditional emotional moments song in the series. And there you have it, my long as fuck review on what is for me, remember for me, probably the best episode from any TV show I have ever seen. I know it's kind of cheating including the endings of the previous episode in this review, but I had to do that for contextual purposes, of course. This episode has everything, and I mean everything. If you wanted to, you could just pretend this episode is a standalone movie with the ending of the last episode, and it would be passable for an alright film even without all the backstory of the entire series. It's just a perfect episode, and I have no clue what this moron IMDb user is smoking. I said that kind of in a sociopathic way, but also angry. Its reviews are all over the place, and I know that looks bad, but then you realize there's barely any votes at all. If this show were popular, there'd probably be 70% of votes as 10 instead of a measly 28.2. Just 248 ratings in total for this episode. Wow. Yikes. This episode is everything about Halloween for me. It's also everything a TV show episode should be. Funny, gripping, confusing, emotional. It is perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing. That's why it's the greatest TV show episode ever.
What's it like when you die? Do you live on in memory?
Thanks so much everyone for watching Octoween VII. Yes, I know, another year of just one video, but a long video for this year's Octoween, that's for sure. My god. Next year I'll try my best to make 2 videos though, so we have 2 completely different topics. I just had a massive desire to review this episode of Roswell, and to be honest, there was no other spooky media on my mind that I wanted to go through. I was thinking about this and this alone for the last 12 months, believe it or not. This was it for me. So yes, it doesn't get much more fitting than the greatest TV show episode ever for my favorite video to make annually. I love reviewing a piece of media that holds great Halloween memories for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed your Halloween. I'll be back soon on the channel and also in 12 months time for Octoween VII. I cannot wait. Catch you all later. Peace!
Next Tuesday.
That's my blood. They've been studying me.
The day they feared would come.
You think they know you're an alien?
They definitely know.
Is finally here.
Where are they?
An all-new Roswell. She lost her boyfriend.
Max is dead.
But Tuesday, on an all-new Roswell,
He's here, his son.
Max is back.
Everyone, stay away!
Roswell. She lost her boyfriend.
Max is dead.
Now, Max is back. Roswell.
They were born with a special gift. Secrecy ensured their survival. Now, all that is about to change.
You know about a kid named Max Evans?
I don't really know.
Discover if there is truth behind every rumor or just a desire to believe.
Please, what happened yesterday? I need to know the truth, Max.
Okay.
The most gripping new drama of 2000.
He knows who we are. He knows why we're here.
Roswell premieres 8:30 Monday on 9.